Thank you for joining us at Rehab and Social Services. It is Friday. So I am going to ask the clerk to open the roll. Members, please indicate you're here.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. For those in the audience, we are going to do identical bills first, and they probably will go sail right out of here. If your bill was heard in one of our subcommittees and came out with a 5-0 recommendation, you do not have to be here. So that might be helpful to know. All right, let's go to our identical bills first. Colleagues, it's page 4 of our docket. Okay, Delegate Guzman, are you here? I do not see her. Okay. Delegate Mugler.
Madam Chair, Delegate Mugler's bill is the identical to my Senate Bill 676, which passed this committee 15-0 and then the Senate 40-0, so I so move.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to pass out HB 731. Open the roll.
11 ayes, 0 nays.
Ayes, 0 nays. Thank you. Delegate Foy.
That's your bill.
Carol
Carol
Foy.
Foy.
This was absolutely identical to mine. It was the Kinship Guardian Assistance Program. It identified victim kin, and there's not a word difference, so I'd like a motion.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to report out HB 933. Open the roll.
12 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. Okay, on HB 1187, which was Delegate Wampler's bill, and we have a letter.
You.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, I just spoke to Delegate Wampler, and on House Bill 1187, we had passed it and sent it to the floor. And then after further review by the replay official in consultation with ABC, we ran into some issues that we did not anticipate and some concerns that we may have. So, Madam Chair, I think you are going to send a letter with our House colleagues to ABC to further review this matter over the course of the year and come back and see if we can have a fix that works out for everyone. So if that's acceptable to you, I believe we will carry the bill over for the motion to continue the bill for the year with a letter from you to the ABC officials to try to determine how we can iron this out in the future. So I so move that.
Okay, there's a motion before us. Is there a second? Second. Great. Okay, will the clerk please open the roll? I, too, have consulted with Senator Ruff and Delegate Wampler, and this is acceptable to the patrons.
12 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. Okay, is Delegate Wilt here? No, but Delegate Guzman has arrived. Delegate Guzman, it's HB 566.
Yes, Madam Chair. This bill is identical to Senate Bill 124 that already passed this body. It talks about removing the barriers for SNAP and TANF for returning citizens who have drug felonies. This bill repealed the ban on the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, SNAP, and the TANF for returning citizens with drug felonies who have served their sentences.
It's identical to a bill
Yeah, it's
that
identical.
Senator Locke and myself introduced. Okay. Will the clerk please open the roll? HB 566.
9 ayes, 3 nays.
Your bill reports.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members
Thank
of the committee.
Madam Chair.
Senator Hanger.
Delegate Wilt's bill is identical to a bill that I had, which clarified the staff to children ratios for children. And it is identical. It just clarifies that the number of staff should be based on the youngest child in each group. So I would move that it be reported.
Second. Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Will the clerk open the roll, please?
12 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, very good. That takes care of our identical bills. I would now like to hear reports from from our two subcommittee chairs before we get to similar bills, which will require a little bit more conversation. So, the ABC Subcommittee report. I will turn to Senator Mason.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, first bill is House Bill 37, Delegate Cole. Delegate Cole brought a bill on behalf of a constituent of his who was distilling water. And the still was set up for water only. We tried the best we could to find something going on here. ABC is not interested in governing water. So after a pretty extensive review and not finding a single thing, Madam Chair, we all should go out to Delegate Cole's part of the world and check out this water still, and we move to pass it 4-0, and I so move.
There's no amendment.
There's no amendment. We
Okay, a
couldn't find a
motion
thing
has
to do.
been made and seconded. Senator Morrissey?
Uh-oh.
Can you tell me why one in a non-scientific environment distills water? What is the goal or objective? Just asking.
Delegate Cole?
According to my constituent, it's more pure than water you can buy, so.
Got it. Okay.
Delegate Cole, is that distilled water in your cup this morning?
Well, mixed with other things.
Senator Morrissey, did you give us a second?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Senator DeStef?
I was actually going to say that there are multiple reasons for it, and part of the reasons are to remove the heavy metals that are in a lot of our waters. And when you have the heavy metals in, whether it's a car radiator or in certain types of equipment, that those heavy metals tend to start oxidization. So if it's sitting for long periods of time, the heavy metals settle. And that's one of the reasons that we put distilled waters in equipment that's
Sorry
only
you
used
asked,
once in a
ma'am.
great while.
Okay, I think
Sorry you asked,
the
ma'am.
the bill is before us. Will the clerk open the roll, please?
All right, thank you.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. Okay, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Second bill is House Bill number 390, Delegate Knight, and this had amendments that we added, and so I would first move the amendments.
Okay. Amendments have been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I thank you, Madam Chairman. Now with the amendments, this bill is identical and has been married up with Senator McPike and Senator Reeves' long-range overhaul of the fees and of licensing. It's really the culmination of a multi-year effort working with ABC to try to streamline a lot of the things they do. That bill passed out of the Senate 40-0 after a great deal of work. We thank Delegate Knight, McPike, and Reeves for all their work, and so I move to report.
Motion has been made. Is there a second? Okay. Will the clerk please open the roll? This will go on to conference.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill number 1088's Delegate Carr. Delegate Carr has a group in her area that does, it says walking tours, but they will put a bus tour together to keep people from having to drive themselves. They go around to multiple establishments and they sell a ticket. The ticket to the heretofore has made sure that every place you go, you can have a drink, but you also must have food. They would like to add breweries and distilleries, but mostly breweries, to the tour. And as you know, they are not required to have food. They likely have a food truck outside. But in the event that they would not have food, we're excluding them from this and trying to make sure that this tour group can continue to operate. The committee liked the idea and heard testimony from the gentleman that runs the group, and we suggested passing unanimously, and so I so move.
Very good. Motion has been made and seconded. Will the clerk open the roll?
Thirteen ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. Senator Mason.
Thank you, ma'am. And finally, Madam Chair, House Bill 1142. This was a little different. Delegate Tran had a constituent that I think went to a football game at an off-site location and observed some people who may have been drinking. Came back and was concerned with that effort. This was her attempt to try to get at that. The committee had a variety of concerns at how broad this was. Oh, there she is, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And so yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. So
Oh,
Madam Chair,
Finish your sentence, Senator Mason, and I'll call Delegate Tran
my
up.
sentence is complete, ma'am.
Okay. Delegate Tran, there was no recommendation from the subcommittee, and in these cases, we do hear from the delegate and allow you to present your case.
Great. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And I really appreciate the subcommittee chair and members for giving me some extra time to fine-tune this bill. And I think that Senator Mason explained it quite well. So in our code right now, we have limitations on the ability to bring alcohol to school-sponsored events on school sites. We also last year, as a body, passed a bill to limit smoking at school-sponsored events that are held off school sites. So my constituent was really concerned that we don't have anything in the code around the ability to drink at school-sponsored events that are held off-site. And so, through this process, I've learned that there are lots of different sporting events, particularly that are held off school sites, off school grounds that are held at venues that also allow alcohol purchases because they have a license. And so we wanted to continue to fine tune this. The intent is to allow the consumption of alcohol as, appropriate, but like if you're in the stands attending the school-sponsored event, particularly sporting events, just similar to at a school site that you're not able to imbibe there. And so council worked with me to kind of fine-tune the language, and maybe he could explain that. Oh, so I have a substitute or amendment? Amendment. Of an amendment.
Is there an amendment before us, Mr. May?
Madam Chair, there was one line amendment we worked out. It would be on line 24 after A, towards the end of the line. We're going to strike the remainder of line 24, all of line 25, and through board on line 26, and insert facility that holds a license that authorizes on-premises consumption of alcoholic beverages. So what you're doing here is, of this current exception in the code, it's currently limited to performing arts facilities. What we're doing is expanding it to all licensees, every person who has an ABC licenses that authorizes on-premises consumption. So the general rule will be no person can possess or drink alcoholic beverages while attending a school event at an off-site facility, but it will be allowed in instances in which that facility actually has an ABC license and a designated area for consuming the beverages.
Yeah.
Okay, so there would be some demarcation. Individuals who are at a facility with a school event could consume alcohol in a certain area? Is that the nuts and bolts? Okay. Senator Morrissey.
All right, so give us a classic example of a school-sponsored event at an off-site location, not including a restaurant that has an ABC license.
So so the example in my case was two Fairfax County high schools were playing a football game at an off-site location, and the location was big enough where the restaurant was like over here and the location was over here. Other examples that have come up are golfing events, because most schools don't have golf courses on campus, and so they, and I apologize, I'm not a golfer, but they have their golf tournament, and there might be a clubhouse. So those are two examples in the sporting worlds that have come up.
Madam Chair.
Senator Morrissey.
Well, first of all, if they're playing a football game, I'm pretty sure they're on a site.
They're on a site?
Yes, if they're playing a football game, that's not off-site. They're playing a football game on a gridiron at a school site, so I'm not following that example.
Madam Chair, if I may, so like in Fairfax County, in particular, two high schools were playing a football game at a third-party sporting complex. And I believe that is also starting to happen in other parts of our state as well.
Madam Chair, with regard to the
Senator
golf
Marcy.
course matter, there, clubhouses, almost every clubhouse has an ABC license. The high school golf teams play, and golf courses, obviously, they have clubhouses. Those clubhouses have ABC licenses, and that seems to be a carve-out on line 24 what we just did. So I'm not following that one.
So my intent is to allow the drinking in the clubhouse, but like you, and I guess it depends on for that particular example, it depends on how the license is structured and what the premise is where you can actually continue to drink the alcohol would be, whether the intent would be like, for example, if you're on the greens watching the kids play, that you wouldn't be able to unless the license allows for that. Did I get that right, Council?
Okay, it's Senator DeStef and then Senator Surville.
Madam Chair, this may be for council because I think I understand the line amendments. I'm not positive about that. But I understand the golf tournament, that if the school is sponsoring, like in my district, they sponsor kids to play golf, and they have them on 3 or 4 holes while the rest of the golf course is being used by other members. And those, if I understand the intent of this would just say, while the kids are there, nobody could drink alcohol.
But maybe council can better explain.
That's one, but I've got like 4 or 5 examples. One of them would be in Virginia Beach at our amphitheater. We have a lot of, at the convention center, we have a lot of wrestling tournaments. Well, we'll have a wrestling tournament in one section, while another section will have a wedding, and another section will have a restaurant week exhibit. So I'm just trying to better understand this. And even at Harbor Park, schools sponsor a lot of events at Harbor Parks at the ball games, and they'll be in one area, but they're intermingling with everybody throughout the entire facility. So are we saying that nobody's allowed to drink in any of those now? Or I'm just trying to better understand it with a line amendment.
Madam Chair?
Let me ask Mr. May to explain the line amendment, and then it's Senator Surville and then Senator Sproul.
Madam Chair, Senator DeStef, so basically how this would work is if the facility, any of those facilities, as long as they have an ABC license granted by the board that authorizes them to allow on-premises consumption, then any patron there would be permitted to consume an alcoholic beverage of the type allowed in the license in the designated area that's been approved by the board, where the board has come in and said, this is an area where people are allowed to drink, this is a safe area, and that wouldn't be modified unless it was modified by ABC for events that were hosted for a school function.
Madam Chair, quick follow-up on that for clarification.
Yeah, one more follow-up. I have a lot of senators in the queue.
So at Harbor Park, the whole facility is, you're able to drink in the whole facility anywhere you want. So if there's a school-sponsored event, how would that be impacted? Same with the convention center, same with the golf course. On the golf course, you don't just drink in the clubhouse, you have it with you. They have carts that sell you beer while you're driving on the range, or whether you're driving from hole to hole.
Madam Chair, Senator DeStef, so it sounds like the facilities that you're describing, their designated area is the entire facility, in which case they would be permitted to consume those alcoholic beverages anywhere on the premises. The issue is the designated area could be modified in some instances for a school event, assuming that was worked out with the board. With the golf course example, you run into some particular problems because it's a moving target. You would constantly, if you were trying to keep it away from the kids, you would have a designated area that was rolling through the holes with the kids. So what we've said here is, as long as it's a designated area where persons are allowed to consume alcoholic beverages normally under the license, they will continue to be allowed to consume it in those areas.
Sounds like enforcement could be a challenge.
Madam Chair.
Senator Surville
Thank
and then
you.
Senator Sproul, and we should
Thank
probably.
you, Madam Chairman, I have a question, I have a comment and a question. So speaking to the bill, so, I just don't understand how you enforce this. I mean, when I was in high school, we took a trip to Busch Gardens with the band. and there were chaperones there. And, I mean, what do you do about that? I'm pretty sure when I was in band, we also probably played a concert somewhere where they serve. I mean, I know when my kids had played indoor soccer at a place where they serve beer, I'm like, great. So, like, I mean, yeah, so I mean, it wasn't a school-sponsored activity, but I'm sure maybe there might be one where they serve beer, but I just think even if you've carved it out to the ABC area, only areas, it just creates so much confusion about what you can and can't do and potential enforcement issues. I'm not really clear what problem we're trying to solve. I mean, why did you put the bill in? Who asked you to put it in? Who requested it? Or is this just an idea you had?
My constituent asked me to put it in because he was concerned about people drinking in the stands at football games that he was attending for West Springfield High School because it was held off-site.
Okay.
So he asked me to put it in. But I think the way the code might be written now, Section E, it seems like the only exemption right now are for these performing arts centers in the city of Alexandria or the city of Portsmouth, and I could be misreading that. So those other examples you cited, I don't know if they fit into Section E currently, and this may allow them to. But
Okay, Senator Sproul, and then I think we need to move towards a motion.
Madam
Senator
Chair,
Sproul.
Madam Chair, if you look at the bill, she was concentrating on elementary, secondary schools. And we are trying to hide behind Harbor Park. You don't go down on the field. If you go at Mets Park, you don't go down on the field. Even if there's a youth game on the field, if you're at Mets Park, you don't go down on the field. Also concerned about those off campuses, clubhouse. The problem you have is that, yes, this off campus, but they'll get those bills, what have you, and then they'll walk on the football field where those kids are. So I can't see why in the world you gotta have a drink that bad with kids in elementary school. It's not nighttime, more likely. So you can't wait until the game is over with. So the kids, if you can confine yourself to the clubhouse that they have now, yes, you can do that. But they don't. You know they don't. If they buy a bill and they can walk 100 yards away from that and they can stay on the sideline and watch those kids play. I agree with it. Y'all who drinks, you drinkers, you're just trying to get something, making an excuse why not to have this. You don't need to drink around kids. You should wait. I support your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Sproul, Senator Sproul. Senator Chafin and then Senator Boysko.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I understand, or I think I understand what the patron is trying to get at here, and she's doing it at the request of a constituent. But I agree with Senator Searle that it's going to be very confusing. But there's one thing here that's not confusing, and that is the policy of this committee, and whether or not it would be the policy of this committee, whether we want to go down the road of authorizing schools to sponsor events where alcohol is going to be served. Elementary schools, secondary schools, high schools, middle schools. Is that a policy that we really want to embrace at this time? Thank you.
Senator Cosgrove and then Senator Boysko.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just speaking briefly to the bill, I really have some heartburn putting together a bill that impacts all 8 million plus people in the Commonwealth because one constituent had a problem with having a drink by a school event off campus.
We do that all the time.
I'm sorry, do I have the floor?
I apologize to you, but we do that all the time.
Senator Cosgrove has the floor.
Thank you. But I will tell you that this is going to impact a lot of different places. It'll impact our conference centers, our athletic arenas. It'll impact Wolf Trap, who has many different school events there, but still has ABC privileges. You know, putting together a bill this expansive because one constituent got his feelings hurt about something is a policy that I fear, and we're starting to do more and more of this because a constituent wanted something done. I just think this is a very difficult bill, very difficult to enforce, and extremely overreaching in its scope. Thank you.
Senator Boysko.
Madam Chairman, I have the highest regard for our patron and admiration. However, I have to say that I align my comments with Senator Cosgrove, and I have a motion to pass by indefinitely.
Okay, motion has been made to PBI and it's been seconded. Please open the roll.
Great.
10 ayes, 3 nays.
Thanks for your time.
You'll have to keep working on it, Delegate Tran.
Um,
You have one more bill?
I do. So I do have one more bill. House Bill 1209 to establish an Office of New Americans is, I believe,
Very similar.
very
to-
similar, if not exactly the same,
Senator
as Senate Bill
Hashmi.
991 by Senator Hashmi.
Okay, can you tell us what the differences are quickly?
Well, I had made available my latest substitute, but my, so I don't know if council knows off the topic. Huh?
Are you?
So I think
Does
they
this have
are
to go to
actually the
finance?
same. They should probably go to finance.
There are some technical amendments, so we want to conform, which I think we probably need to go into conference. But the amendment would make it identical to okay, there's an amendment before us that would make your bill identical
Okay.
to Senator Hashmi's, and then you would not have to go into conference. Could you please offer the amendment, Mr. May?
Madam Chair, so it would be an amendment in the nature of a substitute. And basically, just to highlight for the committee the differences here, most of them are technical. We're talking about some capitalization stuff that we fixed, a hyphen courtesy of our editing department that was done on the other bill. The Senate bill is in good shape. We're just aligning those technical changes with this bill and the substitute. The only real substantive difference is that the Senate bill left the Senate floor with the clause. This substitute would add the clause to the House bill. We obviously know what will happen when we send it back to the House with that, but if we adopt this substitute with the clause, then I've been told it is funded in the Senate budget and will not need to be referred to finance.
Okay, may I have a motion? Okay, second, all those in favor of accepting the substitute signify by saying aye. Aye. The bill is before us in the nature of a substitute. We've heard the debate before. Okay?
Do we have to refer?
No. It's a motion to report. Second. Okay. Clerk, please open the roll.
Great.
9 ayes, 6 nays.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair and members of the committee.
Bill reports. Delegate Hearing.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. This bill creates the Virginia Sexual and Domestic Violence Prevention Fund. It will be administered by the Department of Social Service and along with the Department of Health. The fund is intended to create basically a prevention program to promote healthy practices related to relationships, sexuality, and social and emotional development, and counteract the factors associated with initial the perpetuation of sexual and domestic violence.
It's a very good bill.
So it's an education program.
Thank you. It's similar to my bill. I think the only differences were technical. They came out of the procurement office. Is there a substitute? Would you like to make your bill identical to the Senate bill with these technical changes?
It's technical.
If they're technical.
That's fine.
Yep. Why don't we get the substitute
Right.
before us? All right. I promise you they're technical. I had the
They're
same
just-
bill. Yeah. Yes, we're making the bills identical.
Oh, yeah, no, we're not gonna, I mean, if I could just see it,
Yes, of
I'm
course.
sure it's fine.
A motion has been made to accept the substitute. Let the patron get her eyes
Really
on it.
quickly. Yes, thank you.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to accept the substitute. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. So the bill is before us.
Move to report the conference avoiding measure.
You move to report the bill. Okay, will the clerk please open the roll? Wonderful.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oops. Delegate hearing will have to re-refer it to finance, but there's money in the Senate budget.
Having voted on the
Has to.
prevailing side, which passed the bill, move to reconsider.
Second? I think we have to open the roll. Voice vote, yep, okay. All those in favor of re-referring this bill to finance signify by saying reconsider. I'm sorry. All those in favor of the reconsideration by the vote by which we passed House Bill 1015 signify by saying aye.
I move to report and re-refer to finance.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I do have a question.
Yes,
Will
Delegate.
Finance have another meeting? They do?
Apparently
Okay.
they will.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
No, that was fair.
Because, you know.
Yeah, fair
Move
question.
to report, re-refer to finance.
We will ask the clerk to open the roll.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, any other delegates in the, let me see. Delegate Adams?
Good morning, Madam Chairman.
Good morning.
Members of the committee. Thank you for hearing this bill. This is House Bill 1025, and it is designed to help officers, law enforcement officers who have been disabled as a result of their service to find and to take advantage of vocational services that are available in the Commonwealth. Now, when I initially introduced this bill, it was a much more expensive measure that directed the Commissioner of Aging and Rehab to develop a program specifically for this. And it was drafted under Title 51, I think 51.5, the section on aging and rehab. And there is a vocational services program that exists for everyone, and this would have fit in right behind it specifically for officers. That was a very expensive proposal, but it was really embraced by all of the law enforcement agencies, all the organizations, the state police, the sheriffs, the Police Benevolent Association, and it's been revealed that this is there's a real need for officers to be able to move into another career and to access certain services. So the code section that already exists is not unique to officers, but it was really unaware to any of the agencies that they could do this. There's also a workers' compensation component if the officers are able to stay in the same agency, but likewise, that is something that has not been available. So what we did, realizing the fact that this was not something funded in the budget, is we came out with this Section 1 bill that simply says it obliges the Department of Aging and Rehab to provide information to the agencies and to officers upon the occasioning of a disability, and a reciprocal duty on the agencies to notify the Department of Aging and Rehab so that there's communication. And this sort of came out of the discussion of how can we do something that would improve and at least make the services more accessible to those officers. I believe we have some law enforcement agencies. They've come to every hearing that we've had on this, and I'd invite you to consider their comments if you would.
Thank you. Mr. Higgins?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Delegate Adams and I have been discussing this bill really since he first introduced it, and all this now, we didn't know that these services were available to, in our case, our troopers who are injured in the line of duty, and that's what we're talking about is line of duty injuries that are so significant they're not able to return to work, again, in our case, as troopers. And all this bill says is, let the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services notify the Department of State Police about the services available, and the Department of State Police will then in turn notify these troopers when they receive these disabling injuries that these services are available. Doesn't require them to take advantage of it, but just so they know that these services are there in the event they want to avail themselves of them. We think it's a good bill and we very much appreciate your support.
Madam Chair.
Seems like a common sense bill. I'm going to take one more speaker before I ask my colleagues to speak.
Lieutenant Gilbert with the Sheriff's Association. What was echoed? I've been with the Sheriff's Department 16 years. I've had numerous people that work for me that have gone, been injured, went light duty, workman's comp, and medical retirement, which are good programs, but this program would allow them to seek further employment and be more of a plus for the community.
I understand. Senator Reeves?
Delegate Adams, were you on the court last night when you guys won at the buzzer?
I was not on the floor. I was at the time.
Madam Chair.
And I am sore this morning from your clerk.
You think you're
kind of,
sore? Those chairs really hurt. Madam Chair, I would just tell the body here, as a former law enforcement officer, I've had several colleagues. One I'm thinking of that this would really have benefited, who was on a traffic stop and got clipped by a car who just drifted too far right, and I spun him around and took him probably 50 feet down the road. So I appreciate the bill. I think it's due, and I would move to report it.
Okay, motion has been made to report, and it's been seconded. Would the clerk please open the roll?
15 ayes, 0 nays.
Very good. This doesn't have to go to finance. Bill reports.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman.
Senator Cosgrove?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having voted on the prevailing side where we passed HB 1209, I'd ask that we reconsider that vote.
Okay. Motion has been made to reconsider the vote by which we passed Senate Bill 1209. And I guess we can do this, Chad? We can do this by a voice vote, reconsideration. All those in favor of the reconsideration signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, 1209 is before us.
Move report.
Second. Okay, motion has been made to report, and it's been seconded. It did not need to go to finance. Am I correct on that? Okay, will the clerk please open the roll?
Eight ayes, 7 nays.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, while our patrons are here, I'm going to continue on with other bills, and then we'll take our second, I see that, and then I'll take our second cluster of subcommittee reports. Delegate Hayes. I've got it in front of me.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. You have before you House Bill 904. And the purpose for this bill, Madam Chair, members of the committee, was to take care of an issue. I had a constituent come to me and to simply say, what is it that we can do about the code when it does not directly require coaches and athletic directors of public schools in that space to report in the case of a sexual abuse. And it specifically states that for private schools, that is a requirement. But for some reason, out of all of the list of requirements of everyone else who would have to report, it does not designate that a coach or an athletic director have to report a case of something that they may know of. And so we're seeking here to just simply add to that line of code, public or private.
And this does include child abuse of all types. It's 63.2 is the section of the code you're
Right. We were specifically
correcting.
after sexual abuse, but it includes all.
And there are a number of other mandated reporters, and this is just reporting a suspected. Okay, is there anybody in favor of your bill? Anybody in
I
opposed
was just bringing
to
it
your
on
bill?
behalf of a constituent.
Refer to finance for some reason.
Yeah, I couldn't understand that piece either.
Well, there's a 300.
Madam
I
Chair,
don't understand that. Yeah, Senator Spruill.
because they asked for it to go to finance, if that need to go, do we have to send it up there? We just send everything to finance for no reason. Do we have to send it up there if it doesn't need it?
Well, sometimes, at this point, I thought we were just sending revenue-generating bills. This is neither revenue nor is it a cost. This
I
would
mean,
be
we're
not on a
Madam
state
Chair, we're
cost.
already,
There is a fiscal impact.
There is, okay. Without further ado, the motion has been made to report and re-refer to finance, and it's
Madam
been
Chair.
seconded. Senator Morrissey.
Love the bill, makes sense, and I'm thinking while you're saying that, that couldn't be. Look at line 22. Why doesn't that already cover the coach?
The other person.
Any teacher or other person, private employee in a
That is
public or
current
private
law.
school.
That is current law.
Madam Chair, I think our council might have.
I will ask David May. Mr. May.
Madam Chair, so it would cover some coaches. The difference is some of these coaches are not teachers, some of them are not employed, some of them are independent contractors. Even if they get a stipend, they're not necessarily employees, so it would pick up those other coaches.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Okay, I'm going to take two more senators. There is a motion before us. Senator Cosgrove, who else?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just very briefly,
Senator Stephan.
the big deal, or the big change in this is it also covers any volunteer
Yes.
who is helping to coach or whatever on these sports teams. So while coaches are covered under the code, this brings in the volunteer
Volunteers.
parent or somebody else as
Yeah.
well.
That's what I wondered about. It was it your intent to bring in the volunteers, volunteer coaches?
absolutely, anyone who have our children under their care ought to be not necessarily.
All right.
Yeah.
The motion is still before us then. I will ask the clerk to open the roll.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bill
Madam Chair.
reports. Delegate Askew, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
Today I have HB 799. I believe it's similar, if not identical, to Senator McPike's SB 393.
Those that are similar, let's see. See if they're similar. I don't have
It's a lead testing program for child day programs.
We're getting to SB 799.
That's McPike's, but we need to
Delegate Askew, did you want to go into conference, or do you want do you want the identical bill?
It could go into conference, Madam Chair.
Okay, so then we would be conforming. So did you want to take one moment to explain your bill?
Absolutely. HB 799 requires licensed child day programs and certain other programs for preschool-aged children to implement and develop a plan to test potable water from sources identified by the EPA as high priority. The bill also stipulates remediation at or above 15 ppbs and a plan for retesting if these programs do not plan to test their water systems. They would be required to have some sort of other source of water, including water coolers and bottles.
So the only difference, according to my notes, between your bill and Senate Bill 393 is the clause. So
I
that's
believe.
according to my notes. So if we were to add the clause to the delegates' bill, they'd be identical. Is that correct, Mr. May?
Madam Chair, that would be correct. We would add the clause on with a single line amendment, adding a third enactment. That would make the bills identical. And like the other bill we heard earlier, this is funded in the Senate budget, so it will not need to be referred to finance as long as we add the clause.
It might be worth adding the clause. It won't have to be re-referred. Okay. So your bill will be identical? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, yes.
May I have a motion to
So move.
to conform and a second? Okay, please open the roll. Oh, I'm sorry. May I have a voice vote? All those in favor of adding the clause to this bill to make it identical to Senator McPike's, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now, your bill's before us as amended. There has been a motion to report it, and there's a second. Open the roll, please.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you so much. I understand, but we have to go through, okay. For those in the audience, I'm continuing with our similar bills, and then we will hear another subcommittee report. If your bill was in the subcommittee report on social services and you also had some detention bills, if you're in that cluster and your bill reported out of that subcommittee on a 5-0 vote, you don't have to be here. So we're moving along here. I guess I don't have any house patrons in the present right now, so
I'm ready, Mr. Chairman.
I'm going to go ahead then with Senator Sproul. Why don't you go over your subcommittee report?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. House Bill 281. Yes,
Let me remind you, I'd like you to go over the bills one by one with a brief description. If there was an amendment made to your bill in committee, the full committee has to adopt the amendment.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, House Bill 851 is eliminate the Department of Correction Prisoner Co-Payment Program for non-emergency health care service. The department said they no longer do this on a pilot basis, that they no longer do this. It was referred by the committee 5-0. And that was a subcommittee recommendation, I believe.
And your motion is to adopt?
Yes, ma'am.
And there's a second. Motion has been made and seconded to report House Bill 281. Yes, Senator Cosgrove? It has to be reported to Finance according to my notes. Okay, so your motion is to report and re-refer to Finance?
Yes, ma'am.
And the second still holds? Yes, ma'am. Okay. Will the clerk please open the roll?
Eleven ayes, 4 nays.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Sproul.
House Bill 597, Delegate Murphy. Madam Chair, hold on a minute. This bill requires the applicant for licensure, renewable of a license to establish, conduct, maintain, operate, continue to operate a group home service which individual with mental health service or disorder should submit to the Department of Behavior and Health Services. And it was recommended by the committee to report 5-0.
That was reported 5-0. There was no amendment. Does not have to go to Finance.
Move to report.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to report House Bill 597. Clerk, open the roll.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you.
Thank you. House Bill 1148 by Delegate King to reorganize provision of the code related to the Department of Aging and Rehab Services. The long-term care ombudsman program is relocated in the code, and the SPIC care grant program is eliminated. The bill also called for additional education service to be provided by the department with respect to Alzheimer's disease and related service. It was recommended by the committee's report 5-0.
There was no amendment to the
No
bill?
amendment, recommend to
And
approval.
does not have to be re-referred to finance. Motion has been made to report and it was seconded. This is House Bill 1148. Clerk, please open the roll.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you.
House
Senator
Bill,
Sproul.
House Bill 1284 by Delegate Hope, direct the Board of Correction to, in consultation with the stakeholders, work group, conduct a review of the standards and requirements governing the application, use of confinement in local correction facilities. It was recommended by the committee report 5-0. I so move.
Okay, this has to be re-referred to finance,
It
so
doesn't say that.
I have it in my notes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so your motion is to report and re-refer to finance. The second?
Second.
Holds. Okay, will the clerk please open the
Madam
roll?
Chairman?
Yes,
On this one, is this
As-
exactly,
Senator McDougal.
and maybe this is for Senator Sproul, this is exactly as it came over from the House?
No, I don't see that. The House,
Was there an amendment? Is that your question, Senator McDougal?
Yes.
Senator Sproul, did you amend this in
no,
subcommittee?
ma'am, there was no, there was no amendment.
Madam Chairman?
Senator McDougal.
So my question with this one is, so this says that they'll conduct a stakeholder agreement, and then with this, even though we may or may not agree with the recommendations of the stakeholder agreement, it gives the board the authority to promulgate standards with that, inconsistent with that. So there's not a two-step process. This is saying regardless of whether we agree with whatever they come up with, they can go ahead and promulgate those rules.
That's what it says.
Okay.
Limited to 20 hours.
This is a Section 1 bill, but you are correct in the reading.
So, Madam Chairman, just,
Senator McDougal.
so I just want to point out, so if, God forbid, somebody who's incarcerated got the coronavirus, and they were the only person in the prison, then this would have some impact. So I have some reservations about agreeing to promulgate the rules before we've not seen the rules that are suggested to be promulgated. So that's just and I understand just where it is, but that's just my concern.
Okay, may I respond? I would just say, though, that the board would have to promulgate regulations. So there's a process there. They have to go through a public process for that. That's a point that I think needs to be made. If it is your pleasure, Delegate Hope will be here shortly after 9 o'clock. You're just pointing it out?
I just pointed it out.
Okay. Okay. Senator Sproul, you had made a motion. Does it hold? Okay, and it's seconded. Motion has been made and seconded to report House Bill 1284. Clerk, please open the roll. Okay, the bill reports.
Madam Chair.
11 ayes, 4 nays.
The last bill, Madam Chair, is House Bill 1648 by Delegate Corn.
Senator Sproul.
This bill requires the Department of Correction to include in the training to provide for state correctional officers and juvenile correctional officers who may have contact with pregnant inmates, have them to have proper training on how to treat, house, and the confinement of those women who are pregnant. It was recommended by the committee to report 5-0. I so move.
Very good. Okay. Motion has been made to report and seconded. This does not have to be re-referred. Senator DeSteph.
I had a quick question if Department of Corrections can come up for a second. Do we have anyone from Department of Corrections? There we go.
Yeah.
Thanks. And Madam Chair, if I may, last year we had a bill that was, I believe, exactly like this, or very, very close. And we found that there were already federal standards on this that the Department of Corrections had to comply with, and Department of Corrections already had a standard of how to handle with intake and everything, and the complete handling of pregnant individuals. Is that still the case? Has something changed?
Madam Chair, Rose Durbin, Virginia Department of Corrections. To answer the senator, nothing has changed as far as departmental policy is concerned. This bill actually is more significant than that. It actually speaks to not only restraints, but visitation policies and things. So it's much more broad bill, but our policy, to answer your question, remains the same.
Senator DeStef.
So would you change your policy based on this law?
Madam Chair, no, we would not.
Okay, so Madam Chair,
Senator DeStef.
I think when this was brought up last year, the Department of Corrections already had policies and procedures in place to do this. And I'm not trying to do anything with the bill, but last year we saw the same thing that when the bill was put in, or a similar
I
bill.
read this to mean that you would be issuing regulations as opposed to maybe just having internal policies. Is that?
Madam Chair, the department does not issue regulations. This would specifically speak to our operating procedures, which already capture the requirements for restraining of pregnant offenders.
So I guess the question being asked is there any difference in what's being required in this bill with what you are currently doing? Is that the question, Senator DeStef?
That is it, and no, there will be no policy changes because we're already doing this. That's
And-
my understanding from last year.
Correct. In terms of how we restrain, specifically speaking to the restraint portion of the bill, there would be no changes to our operating procedure because that is currently how we are operating.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, thank you.
Senator Morrissey?
Madam Chair, one of the things, I served on the committee with Senator Spruill, and we were very impressed with line 272, that provision of the bill that would put a priority in placing a woman who was a primary caretaker with in a facility that was close to the children. We spent some time discussing that, and the lady who just spoke referenced that, but that was significant in our vote to, our unanimous vote to report it to this committee. And
Which is a
share
best
that with the rest of
practice.
the body.
Okay, the bill is before us. Senator Spruill made a motion, and there was a second. Will the clerk please open the roll?
Fifteen ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Spruill, and thank you to the senators who served on your subcommittee. Right. Okay. Just going through all my stuff here. Delegate Aird, welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the
Good
committee.
morning.
House Bill 690 should be before you. Thank you.
Yes, we're on 690.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, House Bill 690 will eliminate the family cap provision of the TANF program. Right now in Virginia, with the family cap, a child is ineligible if born more than 10 months after the family begins to receive assistance. This has been found to be one of the most discriminatory practices that we have. And since 1995, we have collected data that shows that this policy in no way, shape, or form actually changes the size of a household. So there is money that has been funded for removing this cap, and so I hope that it be pleasure of the committee to move the bill forward.
It's a very good bill. Anybody speaking in favor?
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
Gina Berger, Deputy Secretary of Health and Human Resources. Want to thank Delegate Aird for carrying this bill, and we strongly support it.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the
Welcome.
committee. Salam Bhatti from the Virginia Poverty Law Center. We support the bill.
Thank you. I can't imagine there's anybody in opposition. Colleagues, the bill is before us. Okay, motion has been made to report and to second it. No general fund fiscal impact. Will the clerk please open the roll?
Thirteen ayes, 2 nays.
I thank the committee.
It's TANF money. It's TANF money. I don't have a note to re-refer that. I. Okay. We have Delegate Ruddle.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair, and to the members of the committee. This is for HB 1410. Madam Chair, and to the members of the committee, HB 1410 directs the Department of Social Services to facilitate participation in the Federal Restaurant Meals Program of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. This bill will allow elderly, disabled, and homeless Virginians, and I want to repeat, this is an existing federal program that is exclusively available to elderly and disabled and homeless folks to use their SNAP benefits to purchase a hot meal at participating grocery stores and restaurants. Basically, the way that this works is that by Virginia opting into this federal program, and states as ideologically diverse as Arizona to Rhode Island have already done it, basically you can use your existing SNAP benefit cards to, if you're at Sheetz or Wawa, for example, instead of just having to get the cold sandwich from the fridge or a package, a piece, something that's packaged, you can go and get the sub instead. But the restaurant has to participate in the program. It's completely opt-in for the restaurants to participate. There's no requirement or mandate to do it. And so you're not going to have people using their SNAP benefits to go to Ruth Chris, okay? This is for making sure that if you're hungry, the grocery store is closed, you live in a food desert, that you can get a hot meal.
Okay. Representative from the Virginia Poverty Law Center.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senator Mason. When it comes to feeding the hungry, I hope that the members of this committee think about Delegate Rome if you want to. That was okay? All right, a little more. It's a little early for that, probably.
It's important. It's important that folks on food stamps have access to hot meals. I think this is a very good bill.
Madam Chair, I just want to say that, as Delegate Rome said, that it is a federal provision. It's only limited to a certain subgroup of people, so we support it.
Thank you. The bill is before us. Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Would the clerk please open the roll?
Thank you.
13 ayes, 1 nay, 1 abstention.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to the members of the committee.
Thank you, Delegate. Okay, next is Delegate Bourne here. No, he's on his way. Let me see. I think I just have Delegate Bourne and Delegate Hope. Is that correct, Chad? That's correct. Oh, yeah. Oh, let me find that. 997. Okay. Converse file. Okay, who is it similar to? Colleagues, we're not on break. Colleagues, come back to work. Okay. Delegate Converse Fowler has a bill, H. Bill 997, and it is similar to yours, so if.
Madam Chair, Mr. May, if it's similar, this is the one that was removing the sunset provision for background checks for all daycare. What is the difference?
Madam Chair, Senator Mason, there are 4 technical differences. My recommendation would be that we do not conform the bills. The word "the" was in the Senate bill 4 times randomly, and it didn't need to be there, and we're taking it out in the House, and it's not in this version, so we can move this one along.
Okay, move report, second.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to report. This does not have to be re-referred. Clerk, please open the roll. Yeah.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, I think that's great. Okay, so now I have Delegate Bourne outstanding and Delegate Hope. Yes, and Senator Hanger, did you want to walk us through this, the HB 600? This was the family day homes.
Right. Madam Chair, this has requirements for family day homes and dealing with storage of firearms and ammunition. There is a difference, and Delegate Hope wanted his version, and I was conflicted on, but I like mine though, because I think it was, maybe we should just conform it and put it in conference.
That would put it into conference.
I think the impact of it would be that in addition to licensed family day homes, it would pick up some that are voluntarily registered, another 300 and some.
His picks up everybody, yours focuses on licensed.
Right. So, Madam Chair, if you
Okay.
want a motion now without him being present, I would just move to conform his bill to mine.
Okay. Motion has been made to conform HB 600 to Senate Bill 593. It has been seconded. I spoke to Delegate Hope this morning. He is comfortable with either going into conference or having his bill prevail, but we're going to go into conference.
Okay.
All right. Will the clerk please open the roll? Okay.
Second.
A motion has been made to adopt the substitute and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, substitute passes. So now we're going to conform the substitute. Motion has been made to do that, and it's been seconded. Will the clerk please open the roll?
Fourteen ayes, 1 nay.
Okay, and is there anything else that we?
The one we just did was Hope's bill. Yeah.
I think it's our last bill according to mine. Delegate Bourne, are you ready? I can give you a moment.
As ready as I will be, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, members of the committee, House Bill 1371 simply increases the amount of TANF diversionary assistance available to an individual. Increases that to $1,500 or 4 months of assistance, whichever is greater. This type of money is used for when folks face an emergent need, such as car repairs, medical bills. The receipt of this diversionary assistance results in a period of ineligibility that is longer than the length of time covered by the assistance. So, for example, a family receiving 4 months' worth of diversionary assistance is ineligible to receive ongoing TANF for more than 5 months. The bill will hopefully provide approximately 470 families an additional $420. The annual cost of this is about $123,000. And so with that, I would be happy to answer any questions. And if I can't answer them, I'm sure there's somebody behind me that is smarter than I am.
Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Yes, Senator McDougal.
This sounds like a good idea, but just curious, what is the dollar number equivalent to now? Under the current formula, so we're putting in a specific number, which makes a lot of sense to me, but do you have any idea what?
I believe. I think it's just.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Madam Chair, my name is Tony Washington, Director of Division of Benefit Programs. The maximum allotment is 4 months times their monthly allotment. So for example, if their monthly allotment is $300, they would get 4 months times, 4 times that, so 4 times $300.
Senator McDougal.
Do you have what is the average? I just don't know what the average monthly allotment would be. I'm just trying to get a sense.
I'm Mark Golden, TANF manager. The average monthly amount is $318.
Okay. Madam Chairman,
Senator McDougal.
Somebody else, I'd move to report and re-refer to finance. I think, is that way, no, say it has to go there?
This was, staff, I don't have a note that this has to be re-referred, so this does not have to be re-referred.
Move to report.
Move to report, and there's a second. Will the clerk please open the roll?
15 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. Is that it?
Bill reports. I think we've completed our docket. Wow.